Hi, I'm Ryan Hunter, and this is Kalispell Connections, a program where we talk about issues important to the community. With me today is Danielle Maiden, the resident-owned communities program manager for Neighborworks Montana. Hi, Danielle.
Hello.
Well, thanks for coming on the program. I want to start off with the program that you're in charge with at Neighborworks Montana, that I think is really why I wanted to have you on the program, because I think it's so exciting. Manufactured homes is really an important part of affordable housing in communities. People don't realize just how important of a role they play. A lot of people see them as somewhat of as an eyesore, but if we lost them, we'd be in a world of hurt because of the amount of affordable housing they provide in the community. Neighborworks Montana is doing something to try to preserve those in communities. Can you talk about your program?
Yes, most certainly. Thank you for having me. Like they said, I'm Danielle, and Neighborworks Montana provides the resident-owned communities program across the state of Montana. We are an affiliate of Rock USA, which is an organization out of New Hampshire. Rock USA provides this program in 21 states currently across the nation and has 281 rocks, making up about 19,000 homes nationally. With that, we have dedicated financing to help us fund these transactions. And in Montana, so far, we have 14 resident-owned communities. Those vary all the way from Libby to Billings, and it's about 550 households so far that are in our rocks. So with our program, we go out and start knocking on doors and seeing if residents are interested in purchasing their community after we negotiate a purchase and sale contract with the park owner. So that's really the first step for us, is whether a park owner approaches us, we establish a relationship with them, or a park goes up for sale on the MLS listings. We will negotiate a fair market sale with the park owner, and then we will start working with the residents to organize them and form a corporation to buy the community.
Now, what is the risk there that you're trying to prevent? When we spoke before, you talked about some of these manufactured home communities transitioning over to new owners and kind of the result of that, and that's been the real stimulus for wanting to intervene and try to preserve these. Can you talk about the risk that's there for these communities?
Right. So for people who live in manufactured housing communities, it's a different dynamic because you own your home that you live in, and you have that home ownership. However, you do not own the ground underneath it, and so that plays a different dynamic for that home ownership. That's different for any other type, right? So the folks who own the land underneath can make a decision to raise the lot rent, and in Montana, that can be within 30 days notice. It can also be sold to somebody who wants to use the land for something else. So folks can get an eviction notice and need to be able to move their home. And there's very limited places to be able to relocate a manufactured home to, especially if it's of a certain age. It also requires quite a bit of funds. I think it can be $3,000 to $10,000 to relocate a home and set it up again. And many of the people who live in manufactured housing communities are on a set income or are low income. And so being able to come up with those funds can be very difficult to be able to do.
And in Kalispell specifically, do you have any resident-owned communities yet, or is that something you're working on? Are you identifying some that you'd like to work with?
We have 3 resident-owned communities in Kalispell currently. Green Acres is 31 units, I believe, and they have been resident-owned for 11 years now. They were one of our first that we organized in the state, and they have been very successful. They just did a refinance last year at their 10-year mark. And when the appraisal was done, it came back that the average lot rent in August of 2020 here in the Flathead was $450 a month. and their lot rent is $310 a month. And they've only ever had one increase while they've been resident owned, and that's because they chose to have full service property management put in place. We also have Morningstar, which is right next door. They share a fence line to Green Acres, and that is 41 units. And so they're both right there in that same neighborhood. And then Country Court, which is our smallest community that we have in our portfolio, which is 11 units, and that's on Lower Valley Road.
And I imagine that this process of purchasing the lot, the property, and being an owner is really empowering for the members of the community. Have you witnessed that with the folks you work with in these communities about the change that they experience and that their experience with being owners now of the property, whereas before they were in very vulnerable situation, being subject to rent increases that they had no control over?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So when the property goes under contract and the residents choose to move forward, we start organizing the residents, and the residents elect a 5-person board of directors to make the day-to-day decisions for their community. And so we work very closely with them, but also with the rest of the residents through the pre-purchase and post-purchase process. From there, we provide technical assistance for 10 years or at least 10 years, the life of the loan for the residents after purchase. And through that, we attend the board meetings and member meetings when needed, and provide any training that they're looking for around governance, make sure that they understand the federal and state laws associated with being a property owner. And then also we provide different leadership training opportunities for them as well. So in Montana, we have an annual Rock Summit that moves around different locations of the state. And then we also have an annual National Rock Leadership Institute, which is held in New Hampshire every spring. Both of those events are for full scholarships. So any resident in any resident-owned community can attend those, and they receive a scholarship that includes gas to get there, per diem, accommodations, and then food and accommodations while you're at the training as well.
Fantastic. Now, if a resident were watching this and they were interested in learning more and pursuing this, how might they get a hold of you and begin that process?
So they can always give me a call. My contact information is on the Neighborworks Montana website, which is nwmt.org. And there's a manufactured housing page there that lays out for residents and park owners. If you're interested in selling, or if you're a resident that's interested, there's also a page on there that details all of the parks that are resident owned in the state so far.
Now, Neighborworks Montana is a statewide group. You're the local representative, but the community resident-owned communities is just one of the many programs Neighborworks Montana is involved with. Can you speak to some of the other programs that the organization conducts and participates in?
Definitely. So Neighborworks Montana is a statewide organization. We have an office. Our main office is in Great Falls, and we have another office in Missoula. However, we have a few different staff across the state that work remotely, like myself. I'm out of Kalispell. We have a few different programs. So we're a HUD intermediary. So we pass through funds from HUD to our partners across the state that provide housing counseling and first-time homebuyer education. So that is the Community Action Partnership of Northwest Montana here in Kalispell. And then we have quite a few other partners across the state administering those same programs. We're a community development financial institution, so we have a loan fund. And with that loan fund, we do a few different things. So we will work with developers and other corporations to provide construction, gap, and permanent financing for different affordable housing projects across the state. And then we also provide first-time homebuyer down payment assistance loans. And the other program that we have is that we're currently administering the Northwest Montana Community Land Trust, which was started here by the city of Kalispell. And there's 55 community land trust homes here in Kalispell that are currently in their portfolio.
Yeah, I love the land trust in their model as well, and the city of Kalispell was involved in purchasing some of those a lot of those the homes there in their portfolio. So yeah, that's another great program. And the financing, affordable housing financing, I think is so critical because it's so difficult to find that financing for affordable housing projects. So having participant in that and providing another piece to the puzzle to try to get those things financed is very difficult, but it's great that Neighborworks is involved in that. And then you also do rental assistance, is that correct? Provide some rental assistance to communities?
We work with the state currently with the emergency COVID funds for rental assistance. And so we are doing the applications. We don't provide the assistance, but we are providing assistance filling out the applications for the state of Montana currently.
Yeah, I'm curious if you'll see a big jump in demand for that with the moratorium that's going away on evictions. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but I'm curious to see where that will go with the eviction moratorium expiring
Yeah,
nationwide.
yeah, it will be very interesting.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much for all the work you do and your colleagues there at Neighborworks Montana. And I love this resident-owned communities model in preserving our manufactured homes locally. I wish you the best of success. And I hope the idea catches on and we have more of them in our community.
Thank you, Ryan. I am hopeful to be able to get some more parks in our portfolio soon. So if there's any park owners who are interested in learning more about the process, I would really encourage them to reach out to me as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.